let's start with yeah. Okay, we'll start with the heart chakra. We're all
Hi, everybody. I'm here with my brand new friend, Jacob, who I met through another friend, Lauren. Lauren has already been interviewed, so you can go rewind back in time and find her interview on YouTube on the channel. And so I know very little about Jacob, but I'm excited to learn, like, along with you guys live right now, although we're not really live, but yeah, anyways. So Jacob, tell me, well, start anywhere. I don't really care.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I feel honored to be here, Jamie. It's so nice. I felt you before this interview. And I heard things about you. So I feel honored to just sit in a container of like-minded souls and share. So I've learned a lot from other people sharing of the awakening journey and being a sensitive and being a healer.
Yeah.
Even not wanting to be a healer and then going, God, I guess God just wants me to be a healer.
Yeah.
I'll try to work in the supermarket. I'll try to be a carpenter.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, sure. We'll talk about all of this. It'll be really fun, actually. But it's been so nice to share and create containers in this day and age around all these people who are sensitive and having experiences that they really, for me, just want to get shared, just want to be understood, want to be listened to from a place of understanding, rather than maybe from other places where people go, "You're weird. I don't know what's going on. Sorry." Like, yeah, the weather is great. Hey, have a good day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'll just start. I feel like I want to start with what brought me to this moment right now, having an interview with you.
Let's do
right?
it. Yeah.
Let's go for it. So, and I feel like with your container, I kind of want to talk about awakening a little as well. I think that'll be a fun subject to talk about.
Yeah.
So when I was 2 was the first insight I had, conscious insight. And I remember playing with my cousin Ross in the backyard in the garden. And I saw this snake. And I love snakes. I love nature. And I looked at the snake and then I looked at the wall behind it. And the funny insight, it will never leave me. I looked at the snake and I was like, the snake's me. And I said, that snake. But like, it didn't, in a 2-year-old's brain, it doesn't linear talk like that. It's not like a linear, like, oh yes, I understand the snake's consciousness and I'm consciousness. It's just like heart opening and going, wow, that snake is me and it's buzzing with life. And then I saw the wall behind it, and the wall was buzzing with life too, as the same as the snake, and the same as me. So I said, oh my God, this is I feel this communion with the world. And I remember that 2 years old. I would say that was the beginning of a lot of insights to come.
Yeah. Cool.
And then come, as life went on, really quiet kid, very observant kid, watching people, watching why people did what they did. Like, I was like, why did they think that way? Or why did they choose to do that way? And the insight just got more and more, and the quieter I become, the more I noticed I was watching energy flow. And then I learned, like, there's just like this ocean of energy I've been immersed in and conscious of for my whole life that I've been trying to understand. It's like, what am I seeing? And why do I see this? And so really, I remember at 2 years old that started. And I only realized that in my early 20s. Oh my God, this insight that I'm having again, I had before. And now it's just deepening. And now it's getting more, it's becoming more playful. It's becoming more a conscious exploration rather than just a reflective exploration, rather than just more about unconscious merging. So then I remember having another awakening at 7 where I was sleeping next to my,
That's amazing.
I know. I'm trying to piece it all together. That's what the rest of my life is about.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then at 7, I remember having this, beautiful, expansion of consciousness while I was sleeping with, again, my cousin Ross. When you're kids, you just sleep together and have sleepovers.
Yeah.
And every night would go to bed, I would expand as big as the universe. And I didn't understand it. I was like, what's happening? And I looked over at Ross, and he's fast asleep, and I'm here staying up at night going, I don't understand this big feeling. and he's not having it. I'm having it. I must be weird, you
Yeah.
know? And then come, the teens and puberty and all of that mixture of emotions and hormones.
Mhm.
At 16, I started exploring spiritually. Then I said, okay, there's something more to this. These seeds were implanted and sprouted at an early age. Now what? Now what? And that started bringing me to Tibetan lamas, talking with Christian mystics and
Mm.
pastors, initiated in 5 traditions spiritually, thinking, well, the spirit traditions must have the answers for me.
Right.
And, that led into so many blessings, so many blessings. And I felt more comfortable with awakened people than I did with the regular society, because I was like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know why we're doing what we're doing. And so that's turned into an exploration of me consciously exploring this thing called reality and existence and why, and sitting with many teachers across traditions. And yeah, so maybe, I don't know if you gotta keep going.
Sure. I mean,
I
do you
mean,
still
that's
have a
just a little
teacher?
snippet.
Do you
What's
still
that?
have someone that you refer to as your
Yeah,
teacher?
sure, yeah. We call it a friend, but it's a Sufi tradition. It's
Ah, okay.
mystics, and he initiated me a lot, and we'll get into that in a moment. Part of my awakening process kind of got scary after a moment. The more I inquired, the deeper it
Mhm.
got.
Mhm.
Um, and then we had something called a Kundalini Experience when I was around 19,
Yeah.
and it destroyed my life in the
Ugh.
best of, yeah. And it was beautiful. I like to call it energy opening. I couldn't sleep. I was shaking. I was sweating. There'd be body movements that are weird. I
Mhm.
would have, I don't know how PC this is, but this is just, you know,
Go for
talking
it.
and sharing. Go. Thanks. You know, Internal orgasms
Yeah.
24/7,
Yeah.
and I said, wow, people are missing out. I was
Not
like,
everyone
wow,
is
I
up
wonder
for
who else is,
this.
what's that?
Not everyone's up for this.
Not everyone's up for this, but
It's
it gets
really
good.
intense.
That's all I'm going to tell them. It
Yeah.
can get good. But at the same time, all my paradigms were falling away like a sandcastle, like water washing a sandcastle away. And it all demolished. My sense of self demolished. My location of where Jacob is and where the universe is all fell away.
Yeah.
And I kind of existed in that for about 2 years and
Mm.
really shut down. Couldn't really even listen to people in a linear way. Couldn't really understand.
Mhm.
Um, really on the brink.
Mm.
Really on the brink of, can I actually do this thing called the human incarnation,
Yeah.
or
Can
should
you
I just
function? Mhm.
yeah, or should I just check out?
Yeah.
That might be easier. And then I met a Sufi master teacher named John Ferdowsi Wyrick,
Okay.
and he was in Acton, Boston. And my yoga teacher says, "You're having a tough time. I can see it. You should go see this man."
Okay.
And I remember going to his office and going, I don't know what to do. I'm at my last. I have no more hope. Like, it doesn't matter. Just tell me what to do and I'll try. So I went to this guy and I saw him and he peered at me out of his office and started laughing. It's this big fat guy. Like, and I just started nervous laughing. Go, what's this guy see? And he looks at me and goes, "You have the most beautiful aura, but you're
Mm.
so afraid."
You're
And I
so
said,
what?
"Afraid."
Oh,
He said, "You're so
afraid.
afraid."
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, you nailed it, man."
Yeah.
And from there, it turned into a yeah. Then from there, it turned into an 8-year relationship of repairing what happened to me and understanding it.
Mm.
And I was very close to going into the hospital and getting medicated, but it
Mhm.
wasn't a physical emergency; it was a spiritual emergency.
Yep.
And my physicality was telling me, "Hey, you're having a spiritual opening. We just want you to know that, and
Mm.
you need someone to help navigate you through this."
Yep.
And so that started a big part of my healing journey and openings and psychic openings and energetic openings that made me who I am today and how I can help navigate others.
Mhm.
But
Very
yeah, I
cool.
went to this existential rabbit hole where
Yeah.
no self, trying to find a self, couldn't find it, then passing out.
Yep.
Uh, yeah,
I mean,
just resonant.
I didn't experience it that in an extended fashion, but I've had numerous um, experiences like this that lasted, some minutes,
Yes.
where essentially you're dead, you feel like you've died. Yeah. Whatever you is, right?
Well said. Well said. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the you kind of goes away, but you don't go away,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that a lot of understanding that spiritual opening, like, our culture, where are the elders to help us navigate that? I went to
Mm.
my parents. Bless you guys. If you watch this, I love you so much. They're so supportive. But
Yeah.
I could tell that certain openings, it's really hard to guide someone if I haven't eaten an orange and they took a bite of orange. And they're
Yeah.
like, wow, I never felt so much sweetness. And you go, oh, good. I don't really know that.
Right. Yeah.
So growing up in the East Coast in Boston was like that, having a lot of heart openings, a lot of openings, especially as a male, and
Mm-hmm.
integrating that, and trying to navigate the waters of a big ocean of spirituality,
Mm.
of direct spirituality, and so many blessings came from that. So,
Why do you think
yeah.
you chose a male body this time?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question.
Mm.
Everything about the male. That's why. For me right now, the male is healing, the masculine, just like the feminine is healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find more joy to jump into a male body and connect and to
Mm.
open into my heart and to embody that aspect of what is it like to learn through a man and to learn every aspect. One of my greatest pleasures, because I've been in men's groups for a while now, is to open and connect emotionally. And what I'm finding is that it's so beautiful to connect to myself and connect to the feminine outside
Yeah.
of myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a beautiful healing that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I think the world is asking for men to connect in deeper ways and to
Yeah.
be vulnerable, but not even vulnerable, but connected to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, a lot of masculine, we can go into that a little too. That's a great subject. A lot of masculine, a lot of masculine healing has happened for me. It's a public space. Let's see what I can share. Yeah, let's share everything. But yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with soul level. We want to learn what interests us, what we find joy in, and maybe when we come in, we're like, holy shit, this doesn't feel as joyful as I thought before coming in.
Right.
But to be honest, right, it's like it was a good idea from up there,
Yeah. I thought
but
it'd
when
be
I
great to
actually
be a
did it,
woman. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, and like there's so many blessings. I think to have an awakening, I'll say this too. Like when I had the Kundalini awakening, half of it I woke up to this androgynous spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I call that half-baked awakening. Like I was free. And
Yeah.
then I was kind of like floating. I was
Yeah.
like, ooh, I'm free. Like nothing touches me. But then there's this other half that some people talk about. I think it's more talked about today. Now, can we embody spirit through what we are? Can we be
Right.
someone?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the whole awakening process. To do half of it is for myself, it's unfinished.
Mm.
To wake up to pure spirit and go, I'm free, I'm pure spirit. There's nothing that needs to be done. I'm done. I don't need to accomplish anything. I don't need to be a man. I'm spirit. For me, that was unfinished. And when I took spirit's realization and said, okay, let's put clothes on now and
Mm-hmm.
transmute this beautiful experience with more light. So then I stepped back into the manhood and started transmuting lineages and DNA and
Mm-hmm.
being the example of what I would say is a God given gift of what the masculine and feminine are and what this world is.
Cool.
So that's my ongoing journey today. And it's a
Yeah.
blast.
So how are you doing that with people? Are you talking about working with clients, or this is
Sure.
healing work that you do not necessarily with people?
Yeah, I've been counseling men. I've been sitting with men and helping them connect to their feelings,
Mm.
helping men connect with their wounds around self-worth, which has been a big thing for me. Um, all of it. And it's so beautiful because the teaching that happens is me what I'm walking through. So I'm walking hand in hand, going, hey, brother, how are you feeling? Are you afraid to feel that, or do you want to feel it together?
Okay.
And so it's been this beautiful connection. I do body work. I'm a body
Mhm.
worker. So touching the body, that inevitably comes up. Anything held in the body, resistances, joys, bliss, unfinished processes,
Mhm.
embodiment,
Mhm.
probably the biggest key I like to call. I love that word. Talk about embodiment too. I feel like we'll resonate there.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I bring those aspects. I bring my own healing journey of what it means to be spirit, what it means to be a male in this modern world, and what it means to be a male and start healing these aspects that haven't worked, that haven't brought happiness, that has brought more disconnection than connection.
Mm.
And that's one of my big words too, is are we connected right now? Are we connecting with ourselves and to each other? Or are we checking out at some level?
Mm.
That's a big one for me. That's my passion right there, is the word connection.
Okay. Where
Mm.
does that come from?
Yeah, that comes from my childhood. So watching people not truly connect, watching people not be honest with one another,
Mhm.
watching people check out when really they wanted love.
Mm.
And I remember when I was a child, I'd watch it in people. I'd be like, why? Not just my family, everywhere. And go, why would we say thank you and not mean it? Why would we say I love you and not mean it? Why would I say just thank you at the store clerk? Yeah, thanks, and bye. What if we took the time to connect and say thank you?
Mhm.
I appreciate you. I see you. I feel you.
Mhm.
You know, and finding the juice in that. There's so much fullness that comes from that connection. So
Yeah.
it was the
Mm.
contrast that I got to
Mhm.
feel, and I don't know how I was born into that because I had this openness already. And then I was like, why am I born into this non-receptivity, this non-openness where people would check out? And in my family line, there's been drug addiction, and that was checked out from connection. Like, let me just check out because it's a little too much for me.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, have you figured it out yet? Why you were incarnated into that dynamic?
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, to understand it more,
Mhm. Yeah.
pretty much. To contrast is a beautiful learner, and you go into something and you learn who you are through contrast. A lot of the times that seems to be this world, this 3D world on the earth plane.
Mhm.
Like, you won't know what type of ice cream you like until you have all the Ben and Jerry's.
Right.
It's like, I think it's the same thing with experience. Going like,
Mm.
what does connection feel like, and what does disconnection feel like? And then we get to
Mhm.
choose. What do we want to grow towards more?
Mhm.
And I'm graced with having a Sufi teacher and other teachers where I would feel their connection and their embodiment and go, wow, that seems to feel so good from what I've known. And then going,
Mhm.
huh, that's interesting. And then it starts working on my
Mhm.
spirit and on my body and going, well, let's explore that more. I'm interested at some level for some reason.
I'm curious if you have experienced any of the a lot of souls experience spiritual abuse and kind of the guru disciple power struggle.
Love it. Yeah.
No, a little or no?
Talk about spiritual bypassing. um,
Right.
have I experienced that? Yeah, yeah, right. I know. I love that because I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, I think we're going to talk about spiritual bypassing for some reason.
Mhm.
Well,
It's
I
perfect.
haven't experienced it firsthand, but I see it in every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, like, we could say, yeah, it's that big guru, but every one of us has it.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of us can take power away from something or someone, or give it, or give
Mm-hmm.
them their power. So I think it's really just a question: are we allowing someone to feel self-empowered or not? And it's just the main key right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world's full of it. I could bring up 1,000 examples.
Yeah. For me, spiritual bypassing is when we are really, any kind of bypassing is avoidance of feeling.
Right on.
An avoidance of what's true. And we can either dress it up with spiritual excuses, or we can use other excuses, but it's avoiding taking responsibility, avoiding feeling your feelings.
Well said.
Yeah. There's a great book,
And
Spiritual Bypassing by Robert Augustus Masters. Have you heard of that book?
No.
Fantastic book.
Is it?
Yeah, and
Great.
he's also written this book called To Be a Man. Another fantastic book. Yeah.
He has a strong name. I could feel he has
Robert Augustus. Yeah.
Feel he has some good juju to share.
Yeah, and even he has kind of like a sketchy, I don't know if it's sketchy or if it's just purportedly sketchy, kind of like a guru history with some spiritual abuse. And so it's interesting. I seem to observe this over and over again in various dynamics. Never getting too deep in it. Yeah.
I like to add to that is that to own it in each one of us.
Sure.
You know, to own that we all have this ability to avoid. We all have this ability to do what we see out there. And thus, when I've owned my process, and say, yes, I have that. I can be at that level.
Yeah.
I now have awareness of it and I can work with it. Even if it might not go to those extremes that I've seen, I can still start owning, oh yeah, that's what disconnection feels like. That's what power feels like. That's what, you know.
Yeah, we all get to heal the inner guru, shadow guru.
Yeah, the shadow guru, exactly. Inner child, don't forget about your shadow guru.
we would be served well if we did anyway, or at the very least look at it. Yeah, interesting. So how do you take care of yourself these days? Because you're serving a lot of people. So how do you honor yourself in that?
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that, Jamie. Definitely a lot of alone time. I love alone time. I love having my service to the world, and I have boundaries around things. Like, okay, service to the world, service to myself, service to my intimate loved ones, and really balancing that out. This may tie into what we're just talking about. I used to avoid myself through my work and identify as a healer and overwork and work and realize I was uncomfortable with deeper things, maybe intimate relationships and things like that. Yeah. And then that all slowed down. And then I got to really work on these aspects and go, oh, part of self-care is balance. Like, have I spent one of the checkpoints I have is how fast is my mind racing?
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Like our internal system is like, I'm going to create a lot of thoughts because your emotions are whirling. So the thoughts will whirl. I go, oh, I need to sit back, maybe take it slower. So that's the overarching process for me. You know, I garden, spend a lot of alone time in nature. I spend quality time with people, not quantity time with people as well. So not overindulging.
I love it. Okay.
You know, mind, body, spirit too, right? Meditation, yoga, eating well. I eat a lot. I eat heavy, actually. I have to. I won't talk about my diet. It won't sound like the wellness plan. Like, who is he? What? No.
Is it aligned with joy, though? Is your diet aligned with joy?
Yeah, my diet's definitely aligned with joy. Not too much sugar, though, no matter how much joy that brings me. But, you know, exercise has been a big part. Listening to my body and emotions has been. Becoming emotionally literate has been probably my biggest healthcare plan I could have ever gained. Emotional literacy.
What does that mean for you? What does that mean to you?
Emotional literacy is moment-to-moment connection with myself and what I need.
Okay.
And speaking my truth, not holding it back, not having fear around No, I'm not going to say that because I'm obligated, or I'm not going to say this because I might hurt them, or no one can just shift plans. So I
Right.
love to be committed, but I also love to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's been a big healthcare plan for me. That's
Mhm.
changed my life, to be honest with people and things and my time. And
Mm.
yeah.
Very cool. How did you land in Sedona?
Yeah, great question. I was in Ayurveda school,
Mm-hmm.
being an Ayurvedic practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
and this lady looked at me and she goes, "I think you belong in Sedona." I landed in Sedona.
Oh my
And I said,
goodness.
"Really?" And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Well, there's a massage school out there. I think you'd like to, get your LMT." I was doing a lot of energy work and
Yeah.
Alexander technique work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she goes, "You should go there." And I said, "Well, I've never been to the desert before, and I didn't know what Sedona was." I called the school. I heard her voice and I said, "You won me over." I left them up in a month.
Nice.
I looked up everything and said, "This is my next." It felt right in my heart, so I left.
Mm. How was
Something
that
else
school?
amazing.
Yeah.
At first, I like to call it an awakening school, and then it's a massage school.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
very cool.
yeah. Their philosophy is awareness precedes transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So to know oneself and then bringing that self with awareness to everything we meet is the key to their art form of giving.
Mm, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how did you develop? I just want to ask you all the things.
Yeah, we can go anywhere. I don't know how much time we have, but
I have another half hour. Um,
okay, great,
I
wonderful.
know it's like it's awesome. How did you develop your sight? I guess loosely saying sight, but your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, whatever it is that you use for
So,
your spiritual sight.
there's so many factors to that too.
Mm-hmm.
Just feel like each one of these nuggets is a whole thing. So, I've always been clairvoyant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like to say I came out of the spiritual closet at 24.
Yeah.
I was afraid to, especially in Boston.
Oh yeah. Where they
Yeah,
get
right.
hung.
Yeah, I know. When you're born next to a city where the witches were hung, exactly.
Right?
It's close to home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've noticed I saw all kinds of beings when I was young, all kinds of entities. I mean, when I say entities, such a heavy word, God. I mean like light beings and energetic frequencies that were outside myself, energy signatures that
Mm-hmm.
I got to kind of play with a little.
Mm.
So it started there, and then through conditioning, I feel like it shut down. I just kind
Mm-hmm.
of focused my attention somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had the Kundalini arising, it all opened up without me wanting it or not wanting it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm going to have to deal with it
Yeah.
now. So it opened further and further the more I accepted myself as I am. And
Mm-hmm.
also the more I did spiritual practice and really got interested in myself and my
Mm-hmm.
abilities. I wonder what the third eye really is. And it opens more and more today. There's more and more things I see that amaze me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm even amazed that I can see what I see and that this is even true. Um, it's pretty phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And that developed into a system too, which I did call in Boston bioenergetic alignment. So
Oh,
I was doing structural, yeah, I created my own system. It's still in creation, and I do share it, I do teach it.
cool.
But it's looking at the structure of the system. So we can talk about seeing, I guess, like what I see now, what's going on, and what's possible.
Yeah.
So I see all the energy lines in people's bodies, like
Mm-hmm.
music. It's beautiful,
Cool.
and so I hear symphonies in people, absolute symphonies. And so when I
Mm-hmm.
touch someone's body, I don't have to touch it, but when I look at someone's body, I hear the coherence of energy through their whole system,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a musical orchestra. where I get to hear every note and see if they're working together. And so what I do when I approach that, I just listen and ask their emerging intelligence through their body to facilitate the process of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sit next to people and their body's like, can you please adjust me this way? And I'll adjust it. And when I do, they're like, amazing. How did you do that? That's been there for years. I've had a lot of myofascial. I've had a lot of people dig in there.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know what to do the best. And
Yeah.
I'm listening to the intelligence within you to adjust you back into that frequency of what you already know.
Right.
So
Very
that's
cool.
where my seeing is used.
Nice. So people can come in and see you and have a session of
Yeah.
a listening modality, really. Yeah. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Connect. And well, the product of that modality is, to be honest, like connection. People think they're, this is going to be fun too. People think they're getting a physical healing. And indirectly, it's just changing their whole life. So you say you came in with a leg issue, like my hip has been out. I'm like, awesome. Okay, your hip's out. And say you're an ice skater, you know? And I'm thinking of a client not too long ago. And we adjust your hip and I go, wow, this has been only a physical issue. And then before you know it, an emotional alignment happens, and then a spiritual alignment happens. And then you go, wow, how is this even possible? So then what is this body then? If that happened, then what the heck is the body? If I can just adjust your hip and you see God, what's going on here? So there's such a depth to my work, and what I think actually anyone's work, but what I'm discovering is really beautiful.
Very cool. Okay. So your sight, your ability to see and hear things, do you share that when you're in session with people, or as it comes up?
Depending on people's readiness, yeah. I can kind of, I'm not too shy these days around sharing what I see. I think it's good to help people, push the edge, the container a little, going, your arm keeps going out of alignment. You ever look at, your some control stuff, why it's held the whole time. So I do say that, and I do see other guides work on people as I work on people.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of
I've been talking to a lot of people who work psychically or intuitively in this way. And it's interesting to see there's some people who their sight is just a part of them and it's 24/7. And that's how I experience my intuitive abilities. And then there's other people who are either reading or not reading. Like there's an on and an off. Like they kind of rise, I don't know if it rise up in consciousness or access these at this energy or this information, and they come back down to where they're comfortable living.
Right on.
Yeah, which they're both correct.
That's great.
But it's just interesting.
I mean, I can only imagine having it on 24/7. I do.
Yeah.
But I think it's more like this is where intention and attention is so important. Like I remember having the big opening, walking down the Boston street and just like I'd walk by each person, just get a download. And then when I'd go, come home to my partner at that time, I would look pale, I'd look exhausted. And she goes, "You look horrible." I said, "Yeah." And so I learned how to focus my attention. Like I don't need to read people. Like I don't need to focus on all those layers. But all those layers are right here, right now, ready to be looked at.
Right.
But do I need to go there? No. And if I did all the time, it would be hard to see a movie out there, like go out. But
it's true. Yeah. It's and that's why I think a lot of people who are have developed these skills don't like to be in crowds, don't like to be around a lot of people. Not that we don't have intention and the ability to concentrate and focus that. It's just sometimes the information is just really there.
it's there. And also, like, I do believe humanity is going to have a transparency at some point where we're not afraid to be seen and to see. And I think there's still a lot of ability with a lot of uncomfortability with vulnerability still in our culture. So I think a lot of empaths and sensitive and psychics may pick up a lot of that, and there's a lot of triggers within that, so it can be exhausting.
I typically don't see people anymore who don't want to be seen.
Great.
Because I made that a prayer, actually.
Good.
That my intention was to work with people who wanted to work with me,
That's beautiful.
utilizing the abilities that I have to bring in the information and the guidance that they need. Because it's so exhausting. I find it more exhausting to work with people with a lot of resistance. And I think there are people that are better served to work with with people who have more resistance. That I kind of like, I get more joy out of working with people who are like their foot is on the gas.
Yeah, I can feel that with you. Let's go.
Let's do this. If we're gonna do this, let's do this. Not look, I want to rush people through their process, because I don't. I want people to open and unfold the way that they need to. That's in alignment with what their soul is here to do. But if you're going to take 20 years, you're better served by someone else who wants who's happy to hold the space for you for 20 years. That's not joyful for me.
And that person's getting paid with the same issue, paying. You're like, I wonder what that person. I always like to say, if someone comes to me 3 times, I refer them somewhere else. I go to a therapist. I said, because I can't. I love being there for each person, even the people who don't think they want to be seen, and softening it and making it a safe container for them, going, whoa, actually, thank you. You've changed my life. And that's beautiful. But if the same recurring thing's coming up, I'm honest with them. I'm direct. I'm saying, hey, look, the same thing's coming up. I remember being very fierce with a client. I almost felt bad because it was like tough love coming out. I said, hey, she came in for the 4th time, same issue. I said, I just came out of my mouth, why are you here?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm here to support your process and transform you, but you've come, and I don't want you to keep having you give me your money.
Right.
I'm here to be here for your heart, for your transformation, and I love you, but I don't think this relationship's working out if we haven't made progress. I'm being honest. And so I think you should see someone else now, because they may help you better than I can.
Totally.
So I hear you there.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. I think
I feel that's integral to my spirit too. That's my own value system, just like you made yours, and this integrity.
Right. Because you don't want to work harder than the person who's coming to see you. And that doesn't mean like, you're sending people off and telling them they have to change change all these things in their lives and all that. But people have to be opening and accepting and willing to surrender and willing to change. And that is work.
Yeah.
That's work. And so if people aren't willing to step in and work in that way, there's just not a lot that we can do.
Well said. It's funny you said that. I was thinking about that today as I was working out. I was at my friend's home gym. It's kind of fun. And I thought, well, what if I had a personal trainer, right? And I only worked out when I worked out with them.
Right.
So I saw them twice a week, right? So I would still make progress, but the progress would be very slow.
Yeah.
But if I utilized the personal trainer and then said, well, I'm really inspired by this person, what they said, I'm going to utilize it on my own now and go to the gym by myself, the progress would be 100-fold more progressive and quick. So it's very similar to that.
Yep, it is. And it's the people who, the way I work, I do hypnotherapy and counseling and some energy work and things like that. And so when people have a session with me, they might not have a session with me again for like 2 to 4 weeks even. And so the ones who are really invested in change and making progress, that whole 2 weeks or 4 weeks, they're journaling, they're checking out their dreams, they're using all kinds of self-healing strategies. They're growing in between. And then I'm just there to kind of help them push through the next barrier that they bump into.
Yeah.
That's unconscious for them, that they can't see clearly. Yeah.
I'm interested in your work.
Are you?
Yeah, I really am. Yeah. Yeah, I I feel like I facilitate in a very similar way to you.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel that you're full of tools.
Mm-hmm.
Those are so good here. We need tools, right? I found a lot of clients only come to me once, and there's a bittersweetness to that because they just flourish after, and I just go, wow. Like out of the nest
right,
so soon, like, I love you. They're like, they're a millionaire now. And I'm like, okay, well, we done what we could do,
Right.
just shift a few things, and they're flying. So just so grateful for that too, just to watch. Some people a couple more times, some people just once, some people a tune up, I like to say too, because a lot of my work is helping people find self-care of the energy system, how to clear it out, how to remain flowing, how to enhance performance on many levels as well.
Yep. I agree. Some of my favorite things to do for people is teach people ways that they can understand energy and their own energy and the energy of others, so that they move out of this idea that there's some kind of victim.
Well said.
Right?
Yeah, it's so cool that you just said that. Session I had yesterday was a brother, and he was just, he just felt so, the world was so big, he was so small. How can we even make an impact? And I learned it was an energetic flow issue. I looked at his energy. I said, well, victim is a choice, but when we go deeper into life, into this energy system, life needs you more than it needs it. Like that, you're integral to this life process. And to know our importance, our self-worth, and to know our gift gives us all the confidence in the world to not be a victim anymore, but be an exciting co-creator of this reality. And he, crying, and then he got up. I love when men get confident when they weren't, because you can feel like they have this like manly thing, and I love it. I'm like, yes, please, like, show it off, go and get it, do it with connection and humbleness, and go get that life, because life loves you and needs you more than it needs each flower and tree and diversity. And to feel that is so vital, so yummy. So,
I agree.
I quickly dropped the victim away.
It took me many layers. Every time I would have a shift in consciousness, I would look at that again.
Beautiful.
And need to relinquish it, the idea, the belief at that level. So I've many times now I've said, no, you are not a victim here. Yeah. It's been a repeating life lesson. Yeah.
Victim. Yeah, sure. If we look at the earth history, we can almost see why a lot of us can feel so oppressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. The same thing for me is maybe self-worth will come up again, but my relationship to it from this state of consciousness is very different than my relationship than at that state of consciousness. Now it's just like wind through the trees. And I'm like, oh, self-worth. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Okay. We've got a few more minutes.
Okay, sure.
What do we need to talk about in the next few minutes? What was that?
I said we jumped all over.
We did, I know.
It's so fun. Cool. I wonder what would happen if we just penetrated the subject.
I think our energy is just dancing around.
They are. Yeah, we're just meeting each other on the dance floor. I can feel it. Oh, you do those moves? Check this out.
Yeah, I do that move too. But a little bit like this.
Whoa, I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, there's certain people that I've met through time where it's like the way their voice sounds to me. Doesn't matter what their words are. I don't have to concentrate on the words. I just understand the light. And you're one of
Welcome.
those people for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that before this interview.
Mm-hmm. Before we were even talking.
Oh yeah.
That's
I
fun.
can tell the audience here, in subtle perception, a lot comes up. Maybe we start seeing more than we thought was possible. One of my gifts was I meet people in the ethers before I meet them physically. And how I see is a whole chakra system. So I saw your whole chakra system. Um, I didn't ask for it. You just came, or we just came to each other,
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful because what I was looking at was our heart connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed a beautiful heart connection. And it was just this green light. And I said, oh, cool, we're connected.
Yeah. Very
It's
neat.
gonna be, yeah, it's going to be fun. So, I really feel like we're actually all doing that even before we meet someone important that we never met before. It's like already
Mm-hmm.
destined, connected.
Yeah. I mean, I was just taking a walk, whatever day that was, yesterday, and somebody canceled, and I thought, oh, Jacob, I'll ask him if he wants to be interviewed.
Great, yeah.
Right? We were
Sure.
destined to do this. We were destined to meet. So you just see like kind of the colors of the chakra in the ethers?
Not just the color, but so I see a lot of geometry. So it's so fascinating because I can get really dorky about this, and I kind of like that. Yeah, you like dorky.
I do. I think it's fun. This is a
It
topic
is,
I
isn't
could
it?
talk about forever.
I know. So what I see about let's take your heart chakra, for
Okay.
example. Is that cool? So what I was seeing was this beautiful green, but the thing is, it wasn't just this like watercolor green.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very geometrical with certain triangles functioning and rotating,
Oh,
and
neat.
yeah, it's very detailed. Um, a lot of circles, almost like if you were to take a clock apart and look at all the things making the clock spin. It looked like that, and I said, "Wow, how beautiful!" So it was a bunch of, and every geometry was information from your soul to understand itself. So I was looking at the geometry and going, wow, how beautiful. There's all these geometrical figures expressing themselves as information particles.
Neat.
And so every chakra has that where geometry information at a subtler level that's expressing itself.
So cool. Squares and triangles.
And other
Circles and triangles. And other shapes too.
squares are probably there too.
All
But
shapes.
what I saw was that and a lot of like clock rotations of different ways. So when someone says a chakra only goes one way, say maybe, but I saw a lot of different vortexes going on.
Yeah. I think, well, we see what we can see at one level and then we see more.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And every day gets more. Even today, I probably see more than yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do with that? That's the
Right?
question.
I don't
Probably
know.
go for a run and ground.
I know. That is a thing for me.
Yeah,
My little
same.
tachyon wands here.
Oh, you do? Oh, yeah, mine are right over there. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lauren.
I know. They help a lot. They help me ground. They really do. I sleep with them.
You sleep with them too?
Yeah, like they end up all different places and
Yeah.
sometimes here and like underneath my head, and I move
Same.
them around all night long.
I slept with them one night. I was like on my tummy, and they were like on my tummy, and like sleeping on top of tachyon rods.
Yep, these are
Yeah,
great.
all these.
We'll plug them.
Yeah.
Tachyon wands. Go to is it tachyonenergy.com or something like that?
Tachyonwellness.com, I think.
Tachyon Wellness. They're not
Tachyon
cheap,
Wellness.
but they help you sleep. That
Yeah,
was a
all
very
kinds of
cheesy motto.
Well, you
Awesome.
might get some sponsorships here. Yeah, and it's so nice to have this conversation because, we're in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
The world's a very different arena, and I'm seeing a lot of self-empowerment happen. Everyone's coming saying, I'm going to speak up what's happening to me and share it into this I like to say equality container, no higher or lower. We get to share and learn from each other and going, well, yeah, I see chakras. Do you? And then the person's like, yeah. And you're like, wow, can we explore that a little more?
Yeah.
Can we
Tell
talk
me
about
how you
how
see
you do
them.
self-care?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what do you do when when the angels come and sweep you off your feet? How do you ground?
Yeah.
All these things. It's so important and so empowering for us.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
It was a
Yeah.
blast.
Yeah. It's been fun.
Yes. All right, I'm going to end the recording. How can people get a hold of you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, sure. I do have a Facebook, Jacob Massey,
Okay.
and I also have my email. That's what I'm functioning out of right now. It's
Okay.
jmassey01
Yeah.
at gmail.com.
Okay.
And I love helping people with embodiment and navigating themselves and their connections to themselves and others. So
Awesome.
it's
Cool.
a love. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a
You're
blast.
so welcome, Jamie.
Thank
Sure. Yeah. It's a
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm just going to stop recording and then we'll chat a little more.
Yay, good. I was